get to the scene. William Rodriguez is a maintenance worker at the Trade Center, I believe. In any case, he's on the phone with us now. Mr. Rodriguez, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Tell me where you were when, well, which of the two buildings were you in?
I work on the building one, the one that got hit the first time.
Tell me what happened.
I was on the basement, which is a support floor for the maintenance company, and we hear like a big rumble, not like an impact, like a rumble, like something like moving furniture on a massive way, and all of a sudden we hear another rumble, and a guy comes running into our office, and all his skin was off his body. All his skin, we went crazy, we started screaming, we told him to get out. We took everybody out of the office outside to the loading dock area, and then I went back in, and when I went back in, I saw people, I heard people that were stuck on an elevator, on a freight elevator, because all the elevators went down, and water was going in, and they were probably getting drowned, and we get a couple of pipes and opened the elevator, and we got the people out. I went back up, and I saw one of the officers from the Port Authority Police. I've been working there for 20 years, so I knew him very well. My routine on the World Trade Center is in charge of the staircase. And since there was no elevator service, I have the master key for all the staircase doors. So I went up with the police officer and a group of firemen. As we went up, there was a lot of people coming down. And while we got, it was very difficult to get up.
Mr. Rodriguez, how much time has elapsed here in this, as you recount the events? Did it seem like hours, minutes, seconds?
No, it wasn't hours.
But what did it seem like?
Well, there was a big time, like a gap. There was a gap of time. I won't be able to tell you if it was 15, 20 minutes, but it was a gap of time. We heard while we were on the 33rd floor, on the 27th floor, because we stopped there with the fire department because the equipment was very heavy and they were breathing very hard. They took a break because they couldn't continue going up, so they wanted to take a break.
Yeah.
And we have a person on a wheelchair that we were going to bring down on a gurney, and a lady that was having problem with a heart attack, and some other guy that was breathing hardly. And we went a couple of floors up while they were putting the person in the gurney, got up to the 39th floor, and we heard on the radio that the 65th floor collapsed.
Right,
heard it collapsed.
Mr. Rodriguez, let me stop you there at the 65th floor. And let me add, you're a lucky man, it seems like today. Thank you for joining us. Matt Cornelius, you were on the 64th floor, 65th floor?
65th floor. Yeah, that's where I work.
Tell me what happened.
Well, I arrived at work a little bit early today.
What do you do?
And I work for the Port Authority in the aviation department. And I was just putting my stuff away, and all of a sudden we heard a loud crash. And the building started shaking, kind of moving like a wave.
What did you think was happening?
I had no idea. I mean, we figured either an airplane had hit it or our first instinct was airplane. And everyone started screaming and said, you know, move away from the windows and let's get out of here. And we saw debris fall past the window on the north side.
How much, just to help our viewers kind of orient themselves, you're on the 65th floor of a building that is how many stories?
I believe it's 110.
So 50 stories above you this has taken place.
I imagine so.
Okay.
We really had no idea at all what had happened until we exited the building. I mean, I had no idea the magnitude. Just took the stairs. I believe I actually was in the stairs as that same man, because I remember I saw the person in the wheelchair. We made it pretty fast down to 40th floor, and then from there the smoke got a little bit thick, and it was a lot slower. We maybe made a floor about every 2 minutes.
And how many people are in this group with you?
Well, there was just one other person that I worked with that was with us. It was packed. I mean, it was a virtual traffic jam in the staircase, up and down, I guess. It was very full.
People screaming?
No, actually everyone maintained calm really well. I was impressed with that. I think for some people it brought back memories of the bombing. People had been there before when that happened. But I was amazed, really. We got in the stairway, we were moving down. When the fire department were coming up, he'd say, move to the left. Everyone moved to the left. And everyone complied. A couple of people started crying a little bit, but we said we're going to get out of here. We just got to focus and take it one step at a time.
Was it noisy, or was there screaming?
No, was
it quiet? Was it eerie?
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't quiet. I mean, people were talking. In fact, someone was laughing. I kept hearing that, and I thought that was strange. But it was pretty normal. I mean, it wasn't. We didn't know what was going on. I mean, all we knew was something major had happened. Exactly,
right.
But we didn't really understand the full severity of the situation. So people weren't panicking. Once we got down to they put us on the plaza level, which was disturbing because there was a lot of debris in the plaza level and a lot of carnage, basically. We then moved out the back towards Broadway, and they said the police were saying, "Don't look back, don't look back." And of course, I made it about a half a block, and I looked back, and I saw the other tower on fire, and I couldn't believe it. And
Were you terrified?
Yeah. When we were stuck in that stairway, I mean, we stopped every now and then. It started to get nervous, but we never had any fear of the building collapse. I mean, we had no idea what was going on. So once I got out, and it's still sinking in the real full severity of it. I mean, it's just an awful thing.
That's true of everybody.
Yeah. So
lucky man.
I am very lucky. I thank God very much.
That's all your money. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Very much. Thank you. In Washington, D.C., thank you, Matt. Yep. They have declared a state of emergency. Do we have a guest there, or okay? Washington has declared Washington, D.C. a state of emergency. I believe I was just told that the Space Needle in Seattle has been closed down. Is that correct? Did I hear you guys? There are a couple of points we might make there. Back in the year 2000, just before New Year's Eve, coming into Washington State, a man was stopped with explosives, and as it turned out, that was a part of a planned terrorist attack, and it caused the city of Seattle to shut down what had been an enormously elaborate Millennium celebration. They are very much on edge in Seattle. We were just there last week, and it's not surprising to me that they would shut that building down. Elise Marcos is an official with New York City Hospitals, and she joins us. He joins us now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you okay.
I apologize for the stuttered introduction. Tell me the situation in the hospitals.
Well, at Bellevue Hospital, which is the largest public hospital in the city, and is relatively near the incident, we have, as of now, received approximately 125, 30 patients. Two are dead, unfortunately. Some have brain injuries, very serious fractures, and we are now getting more patients from other hospitals that need microsurgery or implantation of limbs and plastic surgery. So it is a rather overwhelming situation here.
Mr. Marcos,
Yes.
Marcos, you were outside the buildings in that period between the planes hitting and the buildings collapsing. Can you tell me what you saw?
Well, as president of the public hospitals, I was asked immediately within seconds to join the crisis assistance unit, which is located across the street from the World Trade Center. So I drove there, and as I was parking, a huge piece of rock hit the back of the car, broke the windshield where I was sitting, so I'm very lucky to be alive. Then when I went to the center was evacuated because they were afraid that a second plane may be coming. I joined the fire commissioner, and then I needed to use the telephone because cellular phones were not working. I went into, I think, American Express building, and as I was there, one of the buildings collapsed, and we were unable to leave that building, and thanks to a very brave police officer who was able to find an exit, we are here today.
Mr. Marcos, we heard reports that people were jumping out of the building. Did you see that?
Unfortunately, I saw about 5 people jumping from up the building, and I can tell you there's no other, I've never had such an overwhelming a terrible experience in my life. Although I've been in this job for a long time and I've seen a lot of things, it's just something that is very hard to describe. But at the same time, I have to say that the fire department, the police department, they were all there. They were so brave, all those men and women, that I feel that thanks to them, many people were saved.
Yes, can I interrupt there for a second? When I was coming down, just as I left the building, there were still firemen inside the building on those floors that I mentioned before, on the 34, 38, 39, and 27th floor. And I'm 100% sure that they didn't make it. And the officer that told me to get out with the group that was taking the person on the gurney was an officer from the Port Authority Police, Officer Lim. I know he didn't make it, because as I came out of the building, I saw a lot of bodies on the floor. I saw a lady encrusted on the floor. That's probably one of the persons that jumped from the building, if he jumped from the building. But it was like he melted on the floor. That's how bad it was. As I came out of the building, we hear the rumbling, and I was told, run. When I look up, everything is coming down. And I start running as far as I could, and we all jumped under one of the fire trucks, right on time, because everything just came right on top of us. We could have been crushed because the truck was coming down on us. And all of a sudden, it stopped, and we were pulled out from under the truck. But I know these officers didn't make it.
Mr. Marcos, Mr. Martinez, thank you for your extraordinary descriptions of what was going on in and around the buildings, excuse me, around 9 o'clock this morning, a little before 9, and a little after 9 here in New York. We've heard a number of references today. Certainly the first thing we thought of as we were coming in to the February 93 attack on the World Trade Center. And as horrible as that was, and it was, 6 people died that day. Many hundreds were injured, but 6 people perished. It is not reasonable to believe that the numbers will be anything like that. They will be far, far worse. And I think we're just beginning to get a sense of the magnitude. CNN's Judy Woodruff in Washington. Judy?
Aaron, we're listening to your reporting and the people you've been talking with. I have to say, in stunned silence, none of us ever seen anything close to the magnitude of this horrific events of this morning. Just to quickly recap, 4 commercial airplanes in the United States, 2 United Airlines, 2 American Airlines, have crashed. We know 2 of them went into, and you can see the flights here, American Airlines Flight 11 leaving Boston on the way to Los Angeles. This is one of the planes, American Airlines 77 Dulles to Los Angeles. That plane, that second plane, believed to have crashed into the Pentagon, but again, that's not confirmed. The first American Airlines flight believed to have crashed into one of the World Trade Center towers. United Airlines Flight 93 leaving Newark on the way to San Francisco, believed to have crashed in Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. And finally, another United Airlines flight believed to have crashed into the World Trade Center. In all, horrific, not just damage, but surely loss of life. It's far too early to know victims, the number of casualties. We do have some information we want to share with you. In addition to what you're seeing in New York City, one of those planes, as we said, crashed into the Pentagon. We're going to be taking you there in a moment to our correspondent, Bob Franken. But we want to let you know what we're learning, what our correspondents are learning, that in the last little while, 5 battleships, some of them destroyers, we know have left Norfolk and have moved out of port in order to be deployed for security reasons along the east coast of the United States. In addition, 2 aircraft carriers that were based in Norfolk, in the Norfolk area, have been moved out to sea and on their way to New York, to the New York area. Now, we don't have much more information than that. We were originally told they were just leaving port for safety reasons, for security reasons. We're now told that very specifically the mission of the aircraft carriers is to move into the New York area, the mission of the battleships to be deployed along the East Coast. And of course, as we get more information, we'll share that with you. As I turn to Bob Franken at the Pentagon, I just want to tell you, President Bush we can tell you now has been at Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. He's now leaving that site on his way to an undisclosed location. Authorities telling us that they will not tell us where he is headed. Secretary of State Powell, the same story there, on his way back to the United States from a conference in Peru.